Hello, Calgary. Hey, Calgary. Can you folks hear me?
Y'all.
Hello. Perfect. Glad you guys can hear me in Calgary. We're just gonna be waiting and starting in 1 minute. We're just waiting for one more person here in Vancouver. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Calgary, good afternoon. Nice that you're streaming in. Yeah, super excited to have all of you here today. For Calgary, hello, my name is Leanne. I'm the Employer Relations and Partnerships Manager in Vancouver. Some of you have already met Kelly. I can pass it off for her quick intro as
Cool.
well.
I can just reach over and talk into you. Test through the microphone? No. Yeah, I'm Kelly K. Fox. We spoke. Hi. This is my
Hello.
face. I look like Justin Bieber a la 2011, so good deal. Fine.
Awesome. So today we're going to be going over how to build a developer resume. So some of you, I assume everyone here. Oh, also just for a little couple of housekeeping things, Calgary, we're going to be monitoring Slack. So if you have any questions during this presentation, Kelly and I really want it to be very interactive. So Slack us with any questions. We'll be taking a look and monitoring that as we deliver the presentation. So yeah, as I mentioned this morning, we're going to be talking about how to build a developer resume. Just a quick show of hands, who here already has a resume? I'm assuming everyone.
Okay if you
Yeah.
don't.
Okay.
Not a requirement to participate in
Yeah.
this lecture.
Not a requirement to participate in this workshop. Our goal here is, if you are coming from a technical background, great. If you're not, no worries. We're here to kind of equip you with the skills needed to put together your best foot forward, moving on as you leave boot camp, and delivering a workshop around resume stuff. Perfect. Whoops. Okay, so for those of you who already have built a resume, for career services and for Lighthouse Labs purposes, we would love it. We encourage you to create a live resume. So that's what we're going to do in the weeks to come. The difference between what you've probably created in the past, or maybe some of you have created live resumes, the difference between a regular PDF and live resume is the tool that you use to create it. So the next slide, we're going to be actually showing you a couple of different resume link tools on how to build a live resume. The reason we want you to create a live resume is after you've left boot camp and you're working with career services and we're sending your resume out, it's just much easier for us to have the most updated version of your resume. If you're publishing changes and you're adding to your project section, it's just important for us to have the most up-to-date information. This is the easiest way to do it.
I'm going to pro tip.
Yeah.
I got a pro tip. Josh, pro tip. Hi. No, I didn't mean to call you out. Another cool reason to have your resume hosted on the same website forever is you can actually make a QR code to use on a business card, so to speak. There's USB business cards. We'll be talking about that later. Super rad. But if you keep the same website and you continuously update your resume on that website, your QR code never goes out of date. So forever, whoever you're handing out your information to always has access to the most recent version of your resume. The end.
Awesome. Yeah, so by a quick show of hands, who here has used Credle before?
Of course.
Anyone used it before? GitHub?
GitHub.
To build a resume? No?
In general.
Has anyone used Canva? No? Anyone in Calgary, have any of you used any of these tools to build a resume? No? Okay. Yeah, so we're actually going to show you shortly at the end of the presentation how to use Credle. We'll show you how it works. It's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is publish, basically publish to an unlisted URL to create a live link, which you'll be providing us in the weeks to come as we are working on our resumes. It's a really awesome tool and yeah, super useful. If you choose to use Canva, there's a bunch of different templates you can kind of plug your personal information in. It's also really great. The only difference is you have to download your resume as a PDF and upload it to Google Drive. And then when you make updates, you have to save the PDF file as the same name and the link for the Google Drive to copy, and then copy the resume. In that way, it'll stay the same. Yeah, Credle is a little bit easier than Canva, but we have seen people use Canva, and there's some beautiful templates there as well. So totally up to you what you choose to use, but we just thought that we would provide you with this information so you can make that choice for yourself.
Most importantly, it's free.
Yeah, and these tools are all free. Awesome. So this might seem pretty intuitive to most of you, as you've probably built a resume in the past, but just as a general rule of thumb, we're going to be going through these sections on what a resume should actually contain. So the first section, we've actually put this in order of how it should be laid out on your resume. So from in ranking order, one, obviously your contact information, and we're going to take a deeper dive in each of these sections throughout the presentation. Two, summary. Three, skills section. Four, projects. Five, education. Six, work experience. Seven, optional, is if you have volunteer or interest section and you have enough space to include that. We definitely think that it's good to include that kind of information as well. And it's also really good if you don't have any previous technical experience. So the reason we want your skills and projects at the top is to highlight this new experience, these new skills. We don't want it right at the bottom, and then kind of highlighting your previous work experience that might not be related to a career in development. So you kind of want to highlight and push that stuff to the top. We also recommend that you keep your resume to one page. I'm sure Kelly has some points to add to that as well.
Many, always, yes. One page. Basically, the average amount of time that anyone spends looking at a resume is 6 seconds. So you want all your important stuff at the top so they make sure to see it. And I cannot tell you how many resumes I have seen in my lifetime that don't have people's names on them. You would think that your contact information would include your name, but I've seen phone numbers and emails with no name and names without phone numbers and emails, and I can't contact you that way. But yeah, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. But yeah, definitely your skills and projects, and that'll be an important thing that we'll highlight here at Lighthouse, actually linking those projects from your resume back to your GitHub so they can just click and see what you're doing and have done.
Perfect.
Boom. Now I get to talk about my contact info. This is the thing. So it seems pretty straightforward. You need your name, you need your email, you need your phone number, you need your GitHub. You need your LinkedIn if you have a LinkedIn. If you don't, we'll teach you how to build one. Super useful tool. We'll be talking about that later. I want to talk about your email for a minute. Please, if you do not already have one, make a professional Gmail. It's free with your name, because I have seen some things. I'm like a veteran, a 20-year veteran of the resume war, so to speak. I have received a resume with an email that was Unicorn Farts 1982. I will never forget this in my entire life. This person was perfect for my team that I was hiring for at the time, but I could not get past Unicorn Farts 1983. Like, please have a professional email address. It's free if you don't. Make one. Personally, I usually go and make a Gmail every time I'm on a job campaign to get a job myself, so I can keep track of what I'm applying to and where my resume goes, and it's the only thing that email is used for. But whatever it is, just make sure it's professional, and it should be your name or a version of your name.
Thanks, Kelly. That was awesome. Another thing that people often forget to do, so in addition to professional email address, is sometimes people forget to update their voicemail. So they're on the job hunt, and we all have cell phones, we all have voicemails. Sometimes you have a quirky voicemail. Make sure that when you are tackling the job hunt and you're applying for roles, that you kind of audit and you listen to the voicemail that you have assigned to your email, or your cell phone, just because there's a good chance that an employer may call you. You may be unavailable to take that call, and if it's like something like, "Hey, what's up? It's Joe. Leave a message," like whatever. Might not be conveying that professional persona that you want them to be, thinking of when they think of you. So make sure your voicemail set up and it's professional. GitHub, obviously, make sure you continue to code after boot camp and that your activity is up to date. Make sure that your LinkedIn is fully optimized. No sense in including a LinkedIn URL if you don't have any information on that profile. It should be essentially a mirror of your resume. So we're going to have some time at the end of this workshop for us to tackle that as well. It should be all the same info, if not even more, if there are additional fields, because you're not really limited to one page as you are with a resume. So you can really beef up your LinkedIn. You can have endorsements, you can have endorsements, recommendations, all these things.
If building a LinkedIn is like, oh my gosh, it seems like a ton of work, it really is just copy and paste your resume in there, and you can put things that you don't have on your resume in there. It's like kind of like a master version of your resume. So in the future, you can just copy and paste experiences that you think are relevant, and they're all in one place, and everyone can see them, and it's fancy and it's fun. And you'd be surprised who you're connected to. Like, I'm going to show you my own, and you can just give me a company, and I can find a way that I'm connected to them. It's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, that game. I don't know if anyone plays. I'm just old. Never mind. Moving on.
Awesome. Things to not include on your resume, any kind of social profiles, Facebook, Instagram. I think that's probably pretty intuitive for all of us, but just think it's important to highlight that that's not something that you really want to include on your resume unless you have a dedicated professional Facebook profile where it's highlighting all your dev skills or whatever it may be. No need to include that again. So perfect. Any questions on the contact info section? Anyone? Calgary? Yeah.
Good question.
So wait, let's
Andy,
just repeat the question.
Yeah, and they asked if you should put or leave off your physical address, your mailing address. I personally believe, and from experience would say, they don't need that. No one's going to send you snail mail. At this point in the world, you are not going to get a letter from a company. So it's not a necessary thing. It does take up space. If you want to, that's okay. But if you're looking outside of your area, it could be detrimental because they might assume that you won't relocate. That is a thing. So, for instance, I'm from Florida. Everything on my resume pre-Lighthouse says Florida on it. I did not put that I lived in Florida because I'm currently in Canada. So I actually put Vancouver on mine just to prove that I wasn't still in Florida. But unless there's a purpose for you having your physical address on there, I would say no. Save yourself the space because that's 2 lines that you could use for other things that are more relevant.
100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect.
Good question. Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yes. Summary. Okay. So this is a daunting piece of the resume. Usually, arguably the hardest part to write. How to talk about yourself, essentially. So a summary is at the top of your resume underneath your contact information. That's like 4-ish sentences about you, who you are. Like what do you want the employer to know about you if they only have those 6 seconds and they're reading only that thing? What are you all about? So the tagline, we can speak to that in a minute if that's cool. Hold. We'll put a hold, please. But a tagline's kind of like a movie poster, like Jaws. What was Jaws' tagline? Man, I used to know this. It's like look out for the water or something. Aliens or they're coming. That was the tagline for Alien. Like they're coming or something.
I don't know.
It's just a tiny little blurb that's a couple words long. That's a complete summary of your resume that we use, but won't actually be on your resume, so to speak. So I'm going to focus on the summary, writing a summary. I tend to do this pinball thing, so just put me back on track if you need to. But your summary, I want to give you tips on how to write a summary because it's really difficult. Even for me now, I don't know, you have trouble writing that still.
Yep. Yeah, it's the worst.
It's
super hard.
It's like when someone says, tell me a little bit about yourself. And then you're like, how do I sum up my entire life in a minute? So, the next slide. Here is what you want to be answering when you're writing a professional summary. Like, who are you? Pro tip, this is also your elevator speech. Like the 30-second blurb of tell me about yourself can be the same as what you write in your professional summaries. Like, who are you? In an elevator speech, you're going to include your name. On your summary on your resume, your name's already at the top, so you don't have to say your full name. But you are a, fill in the blank, full stack web developer, or you're front end web developer. Specify that, back end if you choose to. I am a full stack web developer. That's who you are. That should be something along those lines should be your first sentence.
And I'd also like to note sometimes we see grads put on aspiring, prospective, potential. Don't use these words before in your tagline. You want to be really confident, and I find that a lot of grads go on and they're like, but am I a dev yet? You 100% are a dev. You have a huge portfolio of projects once you've left Lighthouse Labs. You're not an aspiring dev, you are a dev. So when you write your tagline and you're working on your summary, tagline, whatever it may be, don't use aspiring, prospective, hopeful, or whatever. It doesn't put your best foot forward, doesn't convey confidence. So try and cut those adjectives that describe you as someone that's wanting to be a dev as opposed to an actual dev. You are all actual devs.
Awesome. That was excellent. Yeah. And the same goes for any experience you may include. Don't say you assisted with something. If you did it, you did it. Yeah. That's it. Like, are you coding? Yes, you are a developer. That's it. Like, good. Awesome. So I am a blank. That is, and then what do you have to offer? Like, what have you been doing here? What do you like to do? Relevant past experience. If you have a background in STEM, for instance, I might say, I am a full stack web developer with a background in blank. Mm-hmm. If you have a relevant background, use it.
Yeah, leverage it. Absolutely leverage. Sure. Absolutely leverage any previous experience that's transferable. It absolutely, definitely do that.
And if you don't, that's okay. There's other things. Like I've looked at, I thought a really cool summary that I read once was, I am a full stack web developer that started coding when I was 6. For old folks like myself, dinosaurs, that used to play around with DOS before there was Microsoft Windows. A lot of that we were doing back then just because it was easier, really. But if you've been into computers or you've been into tech since you were little, that's something that you could use instead of having a degree in chemical engineering or something along those lines.
I love it.
Makes sense so far. So who am I? I am this with this. That's the first part of your professional summary. And then, like, why are you into this industry? Why are you here? What brought you to Lighthouse? Like, why are you currently trying to get a job in web development? What is your interest? Where does it stem from?
And if I can add to that, these are tough questions. These are tough questions to answer, and they require quite a bit of thought, right? And yeah, so, but they're super important, and that's what really makes you have a powerful elevator speech, tagline, summary, is when you put the time in to think about what it is that really propelled you in this career path.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's also why are you a good fit is part of that too. This is why I'm interested in, this is why I'm unique. This is why you should pick me. Pick me. That's kind of the whole point of this is 100%. Pick me instead of the other guy. What makes me better? And that's a common interview question that we'll get into later is like, why should we hire you for this job? This summary should kind of be speaking towards why you and why Leanne and not me. I'm just kidding. It's because Leanne's better than me. No, I'm just kidding. But that's kind of what you're speaking to. Who are you? Like, let them know in four or 5 sentences ish. Not longer than that. You don't want a whole wall of words because if a hiring employer sees a wall of text on a resume, they ain't gonna read it. So short and succinct.
Love it.
That.
Any questions so far from the group? Calgary, Vancouver.
I put E here. I meant question marks, folks. Questions go in the Slack.
What's going on with that keyboard?
I don't know. Okay, cool. No questions. So this is going to bring us into our very first activity. Woo! Interactive workshop. So what we want you to do now is to think about those questions that we just went over and how to answer them. You're actually going to brainstorm about what you may be using in your professional summary / elevator speech. Like, what is special about you? Talk about what brought you here and try and help each other. Sometimes it's easy, like Larry the duck. We talk to other people, bounce things off of other people. It helps. Yes. So we want you guys to pair up and talk about what you may be using, help each other try and figure out what you may say in a professional summary.
So we'll give you about 3 minutes now to break into pairs and just jot down a few notes on some defining characteristics, really what you would put in your elevator speech. So
for sure.
We'll give you 3 minutes and then we'll ask you some questions on what you found. So go ahead.
Yeah. This is going to help you when you're building your resume, which you will have to do. Yes, so if you get this done, it will be helpful later, I promise.
So we'll pause here for a couple of minutes and then we'll turn it back to you.
I wouldn't worry about your tagline right now. It's much easier to write your tagline when you're done with the resume and the professional summary because it is like a 3-word summary type deal. I would worry about that at the very end. Yeah. is for your resume. So you're writing about you. I am a, what are you? If I were to ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself and your job interview, what would you say? Those are the things that are coming in the summary. The questions are like a guide of how to start. Who are you? I am a blank web developer.
So Calgary, we just had a question from the group here in Vancouver asking specifically if we were answering these questions. Yes, we just put this slide up so that you guys can start brainstorming. Who am I? What do I have to offer? Why am I interested in your organization, this industry? How am I a good fit with your organization, this industry? And this is just to help you with forming your tagline and your summary. If any of you were unclear on that. We just want you to start thinking about it and start talking to your peers about it a little bit. Make some notes.
Say my elevator speech in my sleep. It's like, well, my name is Kelly Gordon, and I'm a graduate of Florida State University with a Master's of Science in Counseling and Human Systems, specializing in career counseling. I've been a career counselor for the last 5+ years in higher education, and I am looking for, and then you can fill it in because that's changed sometimes, but it's like a 30-second spiel about you. On my resume, I think it says, I am a career professional with 5+ years of experience in higher education, looking to further increase my career knowledge, I think, and move forward in the career world, make a name for myself, something like that.
Should we get some feedback from the groups?
How is it going? What does this feel like? Anxiety, like a test. Knees weak, palms are sweaty. It's just that arms are sweaty. Knees weak, arms are sweaty.
Okay, well, I think we should jump back in.
Yeah, sure.
We'll jump back in.
If there's no questions, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
But that is I would agree.
We have time at the end as well for us to continue to work on this. We just kind of wanted you to break out.
This definitely, I think, the hardest part of the resume is this summary.
Awesome. So now that you've had the opportunity to talk to your neighbor a little bit about the tagline and summary, this brings us to our next section, which is really, really, really important on your resume, which is skills. So in the past, if you were in a non-technical job or doing something else, that would have included mostly soft skills like team player, collaborative, great communicator. And these are things that you want to highlight, you still want to highlight in your resume. But now, if this is a total career pivot and development is completely new to you, you have a whole other set of skills, which are technical skills. And these are super important for you to include on your resume. So we've actually created a little blurb here, a little box. You will be, these slides should be uploaded to Compass. Please let us know if they're not. So this is what we've seen most grads do, and it's a really awesome format. As you can see, it has languages, frameworks, systems, testing. So please do make sure that you include this on your resume. It's super important as you're applying for dev roles after you've left boot camp. Some grads, some of you may also have experience in other programming languages that were not taught at Lighthouse Labs. So sometimes we get questions where people are like, oh, I taught myself PHP, should I include that? Yes, of course, yes. Please include any technical skills you have. Yep, we have a question. Awesome question. So the question was, how much do we need to know about that specific?
Like, what's your level of expertise? Is that the question?
Yeah. Okay, that's an awesome question. So the question is, say you've worked with Python a little bit and you're not sure if you're an expert or intermediate, but maybe you're new to Python, but you've used it. Would you include it? I think absolutely yes. I think if you've worked with a certain technology or programming language, even if you're not an expert in it, you should definitely include it. You can speak to your level of experience with it in an interview process. But to not include it altogether, I think is doing yourself a huge disservice. Let's just think of this kind of hypothetical. If someone is looking for someone with experience in Python and you don't include it, but they are open to someone who isn't an expert in Python, you've just kind of disqualified yourself from that potential position. So I don't know if you would agree, Kelly?
Yes. Yeah. So there's crawlers some employers use. They search for keywords on a resume. If they're looking for a keyword in a system or a language that you have not included, that could be detrimental to yourself. If you're worried, if your knowledge is super, super basic, then I might put it at the end of the list and say some Python. If you want to, if you're not feeling super comfortable and it's a basic level, you can at the end just say in some Python. That will let them know that you're not an expert, but you're aware of and you have knowledge in whatever that system is. Then I would say some blank, 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 blank. Some Python, comma, Java, comma. It should not be some Java, though, considering you're here, just as a qualifier. And this is not the place, I may add, to put nunchuck skills and Liger skills. Skills that are not related to tech, keep them off of here. Awesome. That was a good question. Any others? Hey. Oh, that's you. That's Remy. Okay. I thought there was a question from Calgary, sorry.
No.
Okay.
Awesome. We're going to talk to our project section.
Projects, I mean.
Oh, projects. Oh, now we're moving into project section.
I'll start. Since I've got the mic anyways. Yeah, so again, you got your context, your summary. Your tech skills should be right under that summary. Or if you're using like a generated template, if it's on the side, it should be at the top, just as close to the top as possible after your summary. Then projects. That's what you're doing in your GitHub and here. That's what's going to speak to your level of ability and that you know these things. So you can link them. I mean, you got your, what is it, Chatty app, Tiny app,
all the projects.
All of them. This is important too. Like when you graduate and you leave, you should be working on something. So the most recent project, even if it isn't finished, even if it's in progress, should be in your project section at the top with a to present or to current so that they know you're still working. That's an important highlight. There's a lot more.
Yeah, and so the project section should be fairly big, a fairly big section on your resume. Employers, from an employer perspective, they really will actually look at your projects. So we've included, again, a little example of a way to format it on your resume at the bottom of this slide here. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you obviously have the name of the project. It should be hyperlinked to the GitHub repo. a little short summary, and then the tech stack that you used, and make sure that you keep this section constantly updated. So you're all still enrolled in boot camp and you have some couple weeks to go. But ideally, in the long term, as you continue to pursue your career in development, you are a developer, it's a really good idea to actually keep this section constantly updated. So sometimes we'll see grads leave boot camp and then have been working on projects since boot camp, and then they don't update their projects. So it looks like they haven't coded in a couple of months or whatever it may be. So make sure that you keep this section fresh. And employers definitely notice if you don't have any GitHub activity. They will check these things. So yeah, make sure it's updated. It should be a big section. Be proud of your work. A lot of time, I'm sure, went into it. And yeah, so if you have any questions on how to format that, obviously just ask myself and Kelly. So in terms of the date, you don't need to write a specific date, just do the month and the year. That should suffice. Yeah, any questions on the project section?
There's a question.
Oh, perfect.
It's not related to this, so I'll wait. If there's questions directly related to your projects, I would say too, there is a short summary, but it's short summary. Not a paragraph about what it is, just a short sentence, and your tech stack is enough because you're actually linking the project. But if there are any questions about this specifically, there is a question from Calgary. You all might have the same question. A resume or a CV, what is the difference? Are they the same thing? The answer is no, they're not the same thing, but they are used interchangeably. So it could be that an employer asks for your CV, but a CV is a curriculum vitae, and it's generally used in academia. It has no page limit. Professors have these. They're like 20 pages long. No joke. You do not want to do that. Resume is more for getting a job outside of academia. And it's one page, and it needs to be succinct because a hiring manager is not going to go through 20 pages worth of your entire background like a CV is meant for. Everything you've ever done from 1985 on, not one page of your whole life. No, hey, I'm older than 85, but no, if coming from academia as a former professor, CVs are a nightmare. You don't want to do that if you don't have to. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Calgary. You are working on a resume, but the words are often interchanged. Yeah. So you could be asked for a CV, but they're really asking for your resume. Awesome. Cool.
Great question.
Yes. I really want to show a CV now. It's like, I think my major professor that I studied under in grad school, hers was 95 pages long. Not kidding. She retired, to be fair, she retired the year after when we graduated.
Yeah, she had 95. Put in a lot of work. 95 pages of work.
95 pages.
I think she deserved that retirement.
Absolutely. Well, she was one of the 4 creators of an entire theory. So every presentation she'd ever done was on this CV. Wow. So CVs are for academia.
Yeah. Do you want to show a CV or
no?
No. Okay. Maybe if we have some time at the end, maybe we can.
Yeah, it was just for fun. There's really no reason that any of you, unless you choose to do research, ever need it.
That was a great question. Awesome. So moving on to the other sections of your resume, really important to include your education and your work experience. So starting with education, obviously. Or I shouldn't say obviously, if it's not obvious, you need to include any previous degrees, relevant courses, Lighthouse Labs. As I mentioned, we know that there's a lot of amazing courses online that you might have taken. If you've taken courses on Udemy or whatever it may be, or doesn't matter, include any relevant coursework that you've taken and any self-taught, self-guided learning. Employers really love to see that, so don't underestimate the power of including any coursework you've done. Include your Lighthouse Labs diploma certification on your resume. Yeah, I don't think this needs to be is a huge section. It's pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions on it, just let me know. In terms of order, put your most recent education first. and
Everything's
same with
reversed.
work experience. I'll
Oh,
let you
face
talk.
reverse, yeah.
Want to talk about work
Of
experience?
course I do. Do I want to talk? Yes. No, everything on your resume, by the way, should be reverse chronological order, which is most recent first. I know it's kind of the backwards way. If you think about it, you usually list, okay, well, let's start in 1994. Again, I'm a dinosaur. I wasn't even old enough to work in 1994, but you want to flip it and start with 2019 and go backwards in every section. Education included, work experience included. So work experience is rad if it's relevant. Transferable skills are important. If you've held any position of employment, you can put it on here as long as you're using the skills that you think are most relevant to web development or the tech industry in your bullets. We're going to talk about bullets too, which is like the next. This is the second hardest thing to do on a resume, I think, after your professional summaries. How do I write what I was doing? Because it's definitely not a paragraph. You don't want to try to avoid that. So you want a bullet, and there are no pronouns in a bullet. You're not saying I did this, and please do not. I know you want to, I know I've seen it, but don't put responsibilities included, colon, and then just list a bunch of stuff. That's a no-no. Please don't do that. So how do you write a bullet about a previous job? There's a pretty simple format. I'm going to show it to you. It's on the slide. You use an action verb and then a skill or task in both. An action verb is simply like provide. What are you doing? Provide, manage, create, design. Those are all action verbs. So what were you doing? I designed, I created, I spoke, I read, I did any verb. As long as if you're currently doing it, it's in the present tense. If you've done it and it's over, it's in the past tense. So managed or created are two quite popular verbs to start off a bullet with. So I have, excuse me, I wrote some examples down like collaborate with management and users to develop e-commerce strategies to increase traffic by approximately 20%. I made that up. I don't, I didn't personally do that. But that's a good example of something that you've done. It doesn't have to be obviously that specific or high level, but it needs to be in that type of format. So if you were working on a team, for instance, a lot of people want to show teamwork. That's a great transferable skill. Working with a team is a good experience that you may have had. If you want to speak to that, instead of just say worked with, throw my mic around. Instead of just saying worked with a team, you might say collaborated with a team of 15 to, and then whatever it was you're doing, to serve 1,000 customers a day. Any kind of concrete information is awesome. Numbers, money, people, anything that helps me or whoever's reading your resume get a good idea of the scope of what it was you were doing. So saying sold cookies at stand is much less descriptive than sold, and you can scientifically guess because you probably don't know for sure how many cookies you actually sold.
What's funny about this example is I used to sell cookies. And I don't think Kelly knew that.
I did not know that, but now I'm even more excited about the cookies example. But like, I mean, so if you, in high school, for instance, like a lot of people worked concession. I did. I sold popcorn at a movie theater. But I would guess, okay, so I worked a whatever hour shift, like a 4-hour shift. How many people, probably hundreds of people, came through to buy popcorn at the movie theater back when going to the movie theater was a thing that people did. But I would say served 100 to 200 customers per shift is a lot more descriptive than served customers popcorn. So try and think about a way that gives a good description of what you're doing using any type of quantifiable information. Uh-oh. Calgary, can you still hear us? Probably not. So just a second, Calgary's internet died, apparently. Somebody's typing. There was a good question though. How far back is not relevant? We'll answer that in a minute. Hold please. Still elevator music? Do 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 do. See, that's the E. It's supposed to be a question mark. Yeah. Let's take a
We'll take a quick bio
yeah. Take a
break,
take a break. Good idea.
That's great. Thank you.
Sorry about that. this back on. Yeah. Or wait, still have the bullets.
Yeah, we're on that.
Hidden experience. And we're back.
So transitioning from writing bullets to hidden experience.
Yeah. So bullets are, again, if you have questions or you want me to read a bullet, be happy to do that. They're not easy to write. Hidden experiences is a fun topic for me because a lot of the time when I sit down with someone to write a resume, they ask me questions like, it'll come out 20 minutes into our discussion and they're like, well, you know, I used to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity and I actually ran a whole team of 20 people. And I'm like, why is that not on your resume? Oh, well, I didn't get paid. So volunteer work counts if you had responsibilities, you had tasks that you were doing that you think are transferable. You don't have to have been paid for something for it to be on your resume. So if you're 18 years old and you were the president of the radio club, you had actual responsibilities that are transferable skills that are relevant to what you're trying to do. So it doesn't have to be a job. It can be something you volunteered for. It could be a team, like maybe you're the coach of a recreational softball team. That is still experience. It could be used. You just want to pull things out of that are relevant to what you're trying to do in the future. So were you sitting in your basement when you were 10? Messing around with, again, I'm going to date myself, but like MySpace. I mean, I had lots of time in college to mess around with CSS on my MySpace just because I wanted it to look cool at the time. So that's something that I was doing as a hobby.
I know that. That's a cool.
Fun facts. I'm full of them.
Is that on your CV?
No, because I'm not in the tech world. But it would be if I was. Like if I was in your position and I was in Lighthouse Labs boot camp, I would absolutely put that I wouldn't say organized my own MySpace and made it look pretty. I would say during college, I dabbled in CSS code to make my personal website look awesome, but I wouldn't say awesome. But that is experience. Even though I wasn't getting paid, it wasn't technically a job. It's something that I did that's directly related to what I'm trying to do now. So that stuff, if you've done things like that, LiveJournal was another one that I messed around with. So I was, just because I wanted my MySpace to be black and purple with a heartogram on it, which is now tattooed on my side, directly related to MySpace. But I wanted it to look different. I wanted it to look cool. So I went in my own time and I learned how to do that. And I taught myself. I do not know it now, so please, if you try to ask me, I have no clue. This was in 2005. But I did do that, and it is related. So I would use that experience. That's what the hidden experience means. Like, think outside the box about things that you've done in your life that are related to the tech industry, and it could be something that you might want to put on your resume, even though it wasn't a job. If that makes sense. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and also, fun facts. I got a job over the summer at a little company called Electronic Arts, testing video games, just because on my resume that I submitted, I put that I built houses for Habitat for Humanity, and the HR person who was pulling people in for interviews also volunteered for Habitat for Humanity, and thought, wow, this person's cool. They work for the same organization that I do, and brought me in purely based on the fact that I volunteered at Habitat for Humanity. So things like that, you never really know for sure how that could play in later, but still awesome. Your interests and your volunteering and things like that that aren't jobs could be really beneficial to you on your resume and in the job hunt. Yeah, questions on the hidden job market, hidden experience, hidden job markets later. Jumping ahead of myself. But hidden experience in your life that you may use. Just remember, it doesn't have to be a job and you don't have to have been paid for it to count as experience. That's basically what this is all about. Additions? Comments?
No major additions to those points, but we've just kind of outlined a couple of things that sometimes people don't include, and we're always surprised. So previous experience working with tech tools, Photoshop, etc., WordPress, like there's just certain things that sometimes we uncover in our career services office hours where we're like, oh, you can leverage that. So building on Kelly's point, have a think about what you've done in over the course of your life, whether it was paid work, your own self-guided learning, your own personal development, and think about how some of those skills can be transferable. Often we forget about certain things that we've done. Previous experience working in a tech company, I feel that's pretty obvious that you would include that, but even you know, tech companies sometimes really value you having worked within a tech company before, even if you are not in a tech role. Say you're moving from sales to a career in development, the fact that you've worked for a tech company in the past can be really leveraged. Previous work experience in terms of soft skills, that's obviously, we talked about the technical skills that you're going to include in your resume, but the reality is that you're going to be working within multidisciplinary teams, and those soft skills are really important to include as well. Previous tech related volunteer experience, if you have that, that'd be amazing to include. There's a lot of, actually, believe it or not, a lot of opportunities to volunteer in tech as well. In the Career Search Hub, we have a bunch of different events that happen in Vancouver, ways of finding events. There's tons of meetup groups, hackathons. If you're really passionate about coding, you could easily volunteer one day for an event, include in your resume. I don't know, I don't want to encourage you to invest all this time volunteering while you're in boot camp. I know you're all very busy, but if you have the time, not a bad idea. If you have that experience already, amazing. If you want to have that experience on your resume, it's easy to do in Vancouver because the tech community is so huge and there's so much going on. We spoke about previous tech-related learning experience, whether it's a course, a one-off course, whatever it may be, make sure you include it. Previous projects, maybe you have projects that you've worked on before Lighthouse Labs. Definitely you should be including those. And then last but not least, passion, conveying your passion for development, which will be reflected in your tagline and summary. Any questions on any of this information? Mindful we're throwing a lot at you this morning and for Calgary this afternoon. What was the question? Sorry?
If at any point we recommend moving to 2 pages. So there is, the thing about resumes is there are no concrete rules for what you can and can't do. They're just suggestions. If you have 20 years of experience, it's possible that you may need 2 pages, but the rule of thumb there is if you're on a second page and you cannot get 3/4 of the way down, don't include it. It has to be more than half of the page, or else you want to go down one. That's kind of the rule of thumb. But in general, again, unless you have a ridiculous amount of experience, I would push pretty hard on you to try and make it a page. Again, that's why your LinkedIn is valuable. You are not limited at all for what you have on your LinkedIn. So if you're feeling like, but I have so much and I can't fit it all on a page, linking your resume to your LinkedIn kind of allows them to have the ability to see everything that you've done. If that makes sense. But yeah, if you just are like, I don't care, I'm going to have 2 pages, make sure that you have at least 3/4 of the second page full. Would you?
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. We were going to take you through a couple of the tools that we were mentioning as well. I think now might be a good time to show you, wait for it, Cradle.
Wait for it, Dairy. Legendary.
I'm having a really hard time seeing the screen from this angle.
Ta-da! So this is actually my account. So I was helping my 20+ year software engineer veteran make his resume look better. And he does not mind if I share his resume with you. So if you create a free account to build your resume on Credle, this is what you're looking at. This is not the final product. This is what it looks like for you to build your own resume in there. So it prompts you actually in each section on what you need to be putting. So it's going to ask you for a date range for your education. It's going to ask for the place where you were studying. It's going to ask for your first name, your last name, so it makes it a lot easier on you guys if you're using Credle like this, because it's prompting you to put what you need to put in there. So it's not a total blank page. So you're coming in and you have to fill in this information. So for you, the top is pretty self-explanatory. We went through all these sections, but that's what is Gabe. Gabe's summary says, I am a high energy social software engineer looking to work with an amazing team of talented people. Boom. So that's his little summary there. Your education. Now, these are not the order that they're going to be on the final product. Again, this is just what it's asking you to fill in when you first create your account. So you got your employment here. I don't know. There's not much to say there. He's got bullets. Set up, documented, communicated, etc., etc. You're filling in that.
Sometimes people are really thrown off by a live resume. So we just kind of wanted to show you how what the template actually looks like, and it's not scary and intimidating or super confusing. So we just. What's that?
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. What are you
saying? Epic fail. Okay, I actually built in a project section. This is not Gabe's resume. This is me. I put this in here. This might be what your project section looks like. These are the things that you are doing here and how you may structure it. Here's the description. Chatty app is blank, and then the stack that you're using. For example, you can add in awards and activities if you want, volunteering. Custom section, this is for him specifically because he listed out a summary of his 20 plus years. When you have filled all this out, that's when you can actually go, where's the mouse? Can you click?
We don't have a mouse. It's just the
Can I?
Yeah.
No.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get to go to formatting, but I'm going to have to tab through all this if I do not have a mouse. So uno momento, por favor. I can't click. You said I don't have a mouse capability. It won't let me. That's the point.
Weird.
It's okay. It's coming. I know I'm weirded out too, but we're almost there. We're almost there. Okay, so this is like Rocky Horror Picture Show. Anticipation.
Build up.
Am I there? No. There we go. Right? Ha! No. Why did that go to Facebook? Okay. Clearly, I am a career advisor and not a technological wizard.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know.
We don't have mouses with our laptops. That's why I was.
No, I mean like the mouse pad isn't working. Tech kids, any suggestions here? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Help the dinosaur. That's what I was trying to do, is get it over to the second monitor.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, can you go back for me? You're just gonna operate this. I'm not touching it. I'm afraid now. Okay, click on the bottom. So, okay. Do not go to Facebook. That was an error on my part. Basically, when you're done filling in those sections in Credle, it builds you a workable live resume. So you're not worried about all the formatting, and you have the ability on the upper left, you can see the customizer button. If you click that, you can move the categories around and you can choose which are showing and which are not, which is helpful. Like obviously for Gabriel, he is a 20 plus year software engineer. So his employment is going to be higher than any projects or education in his past. But for you, that would be different. So this is potentially. Correct. Potentially. But even so, you want your tech skills up there. I've hidden that on his for now. But yeah, it's going to pop out. There's a bunch of different templates or ways that you can have your resume look. They don't all have to look like this. I think there's 20 plus different looks that you can choose. And yeah, it's fully customizable, but what it does is pull out live links. So if you click on his LinkedIn, it takes you to his LinkedIn. his GitHub there. They're all already linked. So, I mean, you don't have to click on it, but you can. And when you're done and you click the publish button in the upper right, it gives you the URL where it's hosted. So, makes everything easy, in my opinion. I wish I had it, like 10 years ago.
Awesome. And so we also wanted to show you this amazing tool, actually Kelly introduced, on writing bullets.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is on this other tab here.
If you have trouble writing bullets or describing any position that you have been in, which is a common thing, there is a website called onetonline.org. onetonline.org. Again, I will repeat onetonline.org. onetonline.org. There is a search box in the upper right-hand corner of this website. You put in the job that you had. What are we on? We're already on one right now, but I don't know what. Oh, property real estate manager. What'd you put in?
I put sales coordinator.
Sales coordinator. So here's everything related to sales coordinator, but sales manager would be close.
You're a sales manager.
You click on the title that's closest to the actual title that you had. Up there, the first category is called tasks. If you click the plus up on the top of the section, just right above that, it's gray, underneath the word tasks.
Oh,
Yeah, the plus right there, yeah. These tasks are already written in bullet format. It's right there for you to copy and paste. These are the things that sales managers do. All you would have to do on your side is try and specialize it to yourself.
Yeah, you can tweak these bullet points to be relevant to exactly what you did. So if you want to quantify these, as Kelly mentioned, or you want to tweak them a little bit, but I think that this is an amazing tool because, as we mentioned, writing bullets for your previous experience can be so daunting and difficult to do at times. So this is just a tool that we thought would be useful for you all to reference as you're building out your CV, your resume, not CV, as you're building out your resume, just to reference if you get stuck. Perfect.
I am of the mindset of making everything as easy and painless as possible for myself.
Do we want to show LinkedIn as
Yeah. I also pulled up my LinkedIn so you guys can see LinkedIn. You just click on my name. It's good? Yeah. This is my LinkedIn. My picture is an example of what not to do. Do not selfie yourself driving a car. Like, I look good today. And use it for your LinkedIn picture. Please don't do that. That's what I did. As an example of what not to do. If you actually clicked on that picture, don't do it. But if you did, you would see like my seatbelt and my car. So don't do that. But this is where you can build everything you've ever done. So if you scroll down far enough on mine, you'll get to ancient experience. At Lockheed Martin, you can show another one. It's PBS&J, I think. That company doesn't even exist anymore because one of the board directors was embezzling from the company. But it's still there on my LinkedIn because it's experience that I've had. And then all of my ridiculous amount of education.
Kelly's so educated. I thought it'd be useful to pull this up as well. Some of you may or may not already have LinkedIn profiles. It's definitely something that can be optimized if you invest the time in filling out these fields. Another few hacks that some people may or may not know, when you're on your job hunt, there's a field at the top which allows recruiters to get a hold of you if you let them. It's a career interest. It's here, right? No, it's a career interests. So you have let recruiters know you're open. So you can toggle that on, and then recruiters know that you're on the job hunt. You can even like specify what you're targeting, what you're looking at, what you're after, what kind of roles. If you're looking for contract positions, whatever it may be. So I definitely would encourage you all to create a profile and let recruiters know you're open to finding positions after boot camp. Any questions on LinkedIn?
Oh, you can all add me to your network if you want. I did previously work for EA, and there are other connections that I may have that you may want to use. I am more than happy to introduce you to anyone in my network if you ask me to over LinkedIn.
And likewise, I employer relations, I connect with employers all day, every day, and that's what I do. I've also worked for some tech companies in Vancouver, So I'm also happy to give you a referral or make some introductions if I can help you after boot camp. Perfect. Any questions? No? Is there anything else we wanted to show the group?
Just that LinkedIn is a valuable tool. If you have access to as many people's networks as possible, you'd be surprised how many companies that you, like maybe your dream job, how you're actually connected to them in some way, shape, or form. It's pretty rad.
Perfect.
Ta-da! Action item.
Yes. So a few of you already asked kind of what's next, what we're going to be targeting or what we're going to be doing in the weeks to come. So your resume link and tagline are due week 6, day 3. So week 6, day 3.
This is the old format.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, this was.
Oops, sorry, folks. Please just. Yes, sorry.
Week 8 is peer review.
Yes. Sorry, this was when the program was different length. So it's week 8.
They have peer review.
Perfect. So it's in a few weeks from now. Next week. Kelly, will you take the mic?
Yes. So it's week 8 is when you peer review. So you need a draft of your resume to bring to the peer review workshop, which you will see on Compass that is coming next week. Draft of your resume. Honestly, like the more you can do, the better, because the easier it will be to get it completed. Well, if you bring it to peer, because I'll be in peer review with you, so you guys will be looking at each other's with a sheet of things to look out for, but I'll still be there walking around and looking at the various drafts that you have. Post peer review, you'll be redrafting again and sending it directly to me. I will be giving you individual feedback on the draft after your peer review. And then you should be ready for it to go to Leanne when you're done with boot camp. So that's the goal with the resumes. Draft one, do the best job that you can. It's not going to be perfect. That's fine. That's what peer review's for. Just have something. Don't come in with nothing. Or I'll cry. You don't want to see me cry. It's ugly. I ugly cry.
Perfect. We covered this slide already. Awesome. So we're going to break out. We have about 40 minutes left together. So we're going to take 15 minutes. If you haven't set up a LinkedIn, just set up a basic LinkedIn. And then we're also going to take 15 minutes to play around with resume building. So doesn't matter. You can take the time. You can do whichever one you prefer. But we'll be kind of floating around and answering any questions you have. Yeah. And just another couple of tips. It's easier to do your summary last. So if you go on Credle and you start building out your resume, summary, sometimes it's easier to do as a last
It's like
piece.
an essay, right?
Yeah.
Write the essay and then go back and write your intro. It's always easier to go backwards that way. Plus you
Perfect.
feel accomplished, right? Like, yeah, I did my contact information. Woo!
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, you had a question.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering, with people who are like really familiar with a lot of like design programs, should you still be using Credle and stuff like that? Like, let's say you have your own website and you update it and you post it to that.
If you have, that was,
You have a live link.
yes, that was a great question. So if you have a personal website already, you absolutely don't have to use Credle, just as long as we have a live link of your resume.
You can use InDesign. There's a lot of different ways to do it. If you feel comfortable with that, that's totally fine.
Yes.
These are just tools for us to make it easier for you if you've never built a resume or you don't have the knowledge to build your own complete live resume from nothing. That's all it is. Just suggestions. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks. That concludes our presentation today.
Cool. So they're just gonna stare.